Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're gonna paint a lure without the use of an airbrush, and I'm gonna show you a few tools you can use and some techniques to paint really cool lures without an airbrush. And we're starting right now. So to start off with, I use the spray can with white spray paint, just simply to put on a white base coat. Now this is the easiest way and it's gonna give you a very even effect. You can also use a paintbrush and put on some white paint on there to begin with, but you're always gonna see a little bit of a brush stroke here and there. It's gonna be uneven. It's really hard to get that white base coat on there. So that's why I prefer to use a spray can. If we're not using an airbrush, spray cans are perfectly fine. They're really easy. You can get them anywhere and you'll get a perfect base coat every time. So white base coat with a spray can is how I like to start. And now for this video I'm gonna paint a silver baitfish pattern. Now this baitfish pattern is gonna be quite universal. I'm not gonna paint a specific fish this time. I'm just gonna do a silvery baitfish pattern. And I'm gonna show you a few techniques that you can use to paint really cool and nice lures without the use of an airbrush. Now before I put on my silver paint, I'm gonna put a little bit of black paint on there, and that's gonna create a bigger contrast, meaning that where there's black paint on your lure and you put silver paint on there, that silver is gonna have a bigger contrast with that black, so it's gonna stick out more, it's gonna look more silvery. In general, if you like to make your metallic and pearl paints pop and really stick out a little bit, it's always good to use a black paint underneath. That's gonna make those paints really stick out more. Now I'm not gonna put this black paint on there with just a regular paintbrush and just brush it on there. I want it to be really uneven, because if you look at any kind of fish, any kind of color or pattern, you will notice that in nature nothing is really even. Nothing is really with straight lines and really smooth and perfectly the same color everywhere, because that unevenness creates the depth and realism. And I want my lures to be a little bit special. So that's why I am gonna use a sponge to put on my black instead of a paintbrush. So I grab something to put my paint on. Gonna give this a good shake. Now I got a few types of sponges here which I really like to use. For now I'm gonna use this one, and I will make my sponge a little bit moist first. And now I just dip it in my paint. Let it all soak up in there. Then we just start dipping away. And now that our black is dry, I'm gonna take my metal color here, and now I'm gonna use a paintbrush. Soak up a little bit of that paint. I'm not gonna just stroke it on there, I'm gonna stipple it on there, just to create again that uneven structure. Because the more uneven everything is gonna be, it actually is gonna look more natural. What I also like to play around with when I'm not using an airbrush are Vallejo washes. These come in a lot of different colors. I use mainly the natural colors like brown, dark green, dark gray, a little bit of white, those kind of colors. So I'm gonna just play around with these colors and layer some on there. Probably some brown and dark green on top. Maybe a little bit of whitewash on the sides and everything, just to create a little bit of a texture going on there, a little bit of different colors again. And then we're gonna build up layers of other colors on top of that. And the easiest way I like to apply these washes to create a little bit of texture is by just using a paper towel. Another thing you can do with washes, and what they are actually meant for, is by applying them with a paintbrush and let it soak through the cracks and crevices of a lure to create more detail there. So I'm gonna show that right now. I'm gonna do maybe 2 or 3 layers of this, just to make everything a little bit brighter again. Now to make my lure a little bit brighter again, I'm gonna use a little bit of pearl white, and I'm just gonna dip it on there here and there with my pencil. Now we're gonna do the same with some wicked metallic white cores. To make things even more interesting, you can also use Vallejo the shifters, even with a paintbrush or a paper towel or a sponge. And I'm gonna use several of these and just mix it up and put it a little bit random here and there with a sponge. And that's gonna create a lot of color shifting pearlescent effects on there, and that really makes a lure stand out from the rest, and it just looks really cool as well. So I'm gonna start with gold to pale blue. Now I'm gonna use a little bit of green gold to gold blue. And a little bit of electric blue intense violet on the cheeks. Now I'm gonna add 2 more details to this lure and then I'm gonna call it done. First of all, I want the belly and a little bit of the gill plate here and a little bit more white again. So for that I'm gonna use white paint and I'm gonna use a dry brush to dry brush it on there. It's a technique used to highlight only the outside of a textured surface. So if I would dry brush the gill plate, it's only gonna dry brush the edges and the things that are sticking out a little bit. It's not gonna go inside the crevices. So it's a really nice technique to subtly put a color on there, and I really like to use it to make a belly white again and to put it on the gill plates and such. Also, you can use it for scales when you have a really nice lure with really nice scales. But I got another video on that, which you can find on my YouTube channel. Don't need much. And I'm gonna wipe this off as much as possible. So now, as you can see, there's barely any paint on my brush left. And now I'm gonna start to brush my belly. And now with a little bit of Vallejo game color Bloody Red, I'm gonna draw a little bit of a red line behind the gill plate, just to give it a nice accent. Now we're gonna put the eyes in, and I like to use eyes from lure blanks. Ready for a clear coat. So our lure is finished, and I gotta say, this looks just as good as any lure that is painted with an airbrush. It really looks like it has a lot of detail. It looks really natural. I really like it. So with this video, I hope that I could show you some techniques that you can paint lures at home without the need of an airbrush. You can just buy some paintbrushes, get yourself a paper towel, get yourself some paint, and just start experimenting a little bit. And this just shows you that you don't need an expensive setup to start painting lures. You might just as well do it with a paper towel and a paintbrush. As always, I will leave a link in the description down below for all the materials that I used to paint this lure. Also, the equipment is available in our web shop. And if you would buy anything from our web shop, you will be supporting me and this channel. If you got any questions, suggestions, or you just want to share some knowledge with the lure painting community, leave them in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.